I still remember the day my daughter broke my heart. It was a cold Friday evening in Ohio. Rain tapped softly against the windows as I drove home from work. On the passenger seat sat a tub of chocolate ice cream, Emily's favorite since she was a little girl. Emily was 20 years old now, but to me, she would always be the little girl who ran into my arms after school and begged me to push her on the swings. I unlocked the front door with a smile, expecting a quiet family evening. Instead, I walked into shouting. "You should have told me," Emily yelled. Her voice echoed through the house. My wife, Sarah, stood in the kitchen crying. I froze. "What happened?" I asked. Emily turned toward me. Her face was red, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Then she said something I never expected to hear. "You're not my real dad." For a moment, the entire world seemed to stop. The ice cream slipped from my hand and hit the floor. I looked at Sarah, hoping she would deny it. But she couldn't. 20 years of secrets had finally come out. When Sarah and I met, Emily was only a baby. Her biological father had abandoned them before she was even old enough to walk. I didn't care. The first time I held her, I knew I loved her. When Sarah and I got married, I promised to raise Emily as my own daughter. And I kept that promise. I changed diapers, attended school meetings, taught her how to ride a bike, and stayed awake beside her whenever she was sick. I never once thought of her as anything less than my daughter. But now she looked at me like I was a stranger. "You both lied to me my entire life," she said. "Emily," I began softly, "we never wanted to hurt you." "Her," she cried. "You let me believe you were my father." My heart sank. I wanted to explain that being a father wasn't about blood. It was about love. But she wasn't ready to listen. Without another word, Emily grabbed her jacket and stormed out of the house. The front door slammed behind her. Silence filled the room. Sarah sat at the kitchen table and buried her face in her hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I stared at the closed door. For the first time in 20 years, I didn't know how to help my daughter. That night, I barely slept. I kept looking through old family photos on my phone. Pictures of birthday parties, school graduations, Christmas mornings. Every memory reminded me of the same thing. Emily had always been my daughter, no matter what anyone said. The next morning, I tried calling her. "Non, sir." I sent a text. No reply. Days turned into weeks. And with every passing day, the distance between us grew larger. One evening, Sarah walked into the living room holding her phone. "Emily found him," she said quietly. My stomach tightened. "Found who?" She looked at me sadly. "Her biological father." And suddenly, I knew our family was about to face the biggest challenge it had ever known.
Emily's search for her biological father, Richard, slowly turned into something she once believed would complete her life. At first, everything felt like a dream. Richard was warm, full of attention, and spoke to her like he had been waiting for this moment forever. Emily felt special, chosen, and for the first time in her life, she believed she finally knew where she truly belonged. Day by day, she drifted away from me. Calls became shorter. Conversations became distant. Then one day, she stopped calling me Dad altogether. It hurt more than I ever admitted, but I stayed silent. I didn't want to stand between her and the happiness she thought she had found. Months passed like that, each one heavier than the last. Then everything changed in a single night. My phone rang late. It was Emily. Her voice was broken, trembling like she could barely breathe. Something was wrong. I rushed to her apartment without thinking twice. When she opened the door, she collapsed into my arms. All the hope she had built around Richard had shattered. He wasn't the caring father she imagined. He was distant, unreliable, and only appeared when it suited him. In the end, he left her just like he had done years ago. "I was so stupid," she cried. "I thought he really wanted me." I held her tighter. "You weren't stupid. You were hopeful. There's a difference." For a long time, we just sat there in silence. No anger, no blame, only pain and understanding. Then she looked at me with tear-filled eyes. "After everything I did, why did you still come?" My throat tightened. "Because love doesn't leave when things get hard. That's what being a father means." That night, something shifted between us. The walls she had built slowly began to fall. Over the next months, she started coming back, not out of guilt, but realization. She saw who had truly stayed, who had truly cared, and who had truly loved her without conditions. A year later, on her wedding day, she stood in front of me wearing a white dress, her eyes soft and full of emotion. "Will you walk me down the aisle?" she asked. I couldn't even speak. I just nodded. As we walked together, step by step, I felt every broken moment heal quietly inside me. And when she whispered, "You've always been my real dad," I knew something simple and powerful at the same time. Family isn't about who comes and goes. It's about who never stops staying.